a two-year session, and the Convention of States people also did. They had about maybe a dozen sponsors, all Republicans. The Wolfpack people had about 80. Now, it's a joint resolution, House and Senate. And they held hearings. It would have been October of 2015. I was there. I had a few of my friends and a few others testify. There are liberals as well as conservatives that both support and oppose in Article 5. So just to point out, there are some issues that are left and right, cut and dry, gun control, abortion, what have you. But something like this, you get people on common cause is against an Article 5 convention. So you do have some left-wing groups that are against it. So there were two groups, and when they held hearings, there were everybody there was in favor of the Wolfpack resolution. I mean, the ones testifying in favor, but there were nobody was there from the Convention of States. You know, they probably thought, not going to pass in Massachusetts, so what's the point of showing up? I don't know. Actually, my resolution, you have to stay on top of these things. The one I introduced, I was asked to introduce is to rescind all the calls, and they're supposed to notify you, and you got to really be meticulous. And they had the hearing, it came and gone. I said, I never got notified. It wasn't going to go anywhere anyway. But we have, people who are against an Article 5 have had states introduce resolution to rescind. And back in the early 80s, mid-80s, 1988, there were 32 states that had Article 5 applications dealing with a balanced budget amendment. And so 2 states away. In a number of states, once some activists, Equal Forum, the John Birch Society, the American Legion, the NRA, many among the other groups, they got people that started informing legislators, and a lot of these states rescinded their calls. So we were down to about 20, maybe 18, give or take. And so that's kind of safe. And then when you said rear its ugly head, I can give you a little history of the Article 5 movement to make it clarify. Well,
and then I want to get to good doctor. We're going to take a break in a little while. Let Hal finish talking what he's talking about. We're going to take a break. I'm going to play a little live music from In Excess Live. Take a break, switch some microphones around, get the cameras switched around, and we'll take the second half of the show going on here about the Convention of States. And go ahead, Hal.
All right. So the first two Article 5 applications came out of Virginia and New York before Congress actually sat. It was the Constitution was ratified, and they basically wanted to have a Bill of Rights. That was their major concern. John Hancock was against an Article 5, and James Madison, to mention a couple.
Sure.
There were a number of resolutions introduced over the years, most of them calling for just a convention. That's what the Constitution calls for. It wasn't until the 1880s, 1890s when they started adding reasons. And actually, there was some to abolish slavery back in the 1850s and 60s, which happened without a convention. Of course, unfortunately, you had to have a war to repeal it.
But it was right there, right after the 14th Amendment, that you started to see. A lot of people love the 14th Amendment, you know, equal justice under the law, all that stuff. They don't understand the legislation that went into making that.
And it was actually
the corporatizing.
It was
the United States.
It was basically designed to give full citizenship to people who had been slaves. And
understandable, laudable. Yes, I understand.
But it's been by the 1920s it was twisted. But so in early 1900s, you had resolutions calling for an income tax, resolutions calling for direct election of the Senate, and then, of course, you had, in the 1950s, you had resolutions calling for a convention to change their constitution to be able to merge us into a one-world government. That's really fascinating. Yeah. So about 8 or 9 states, because right after the UN was formed, there was a lot of this, we need to have this universal system.
And I've had plenty of people on the show talking about the 14th Amendment. It's what I just said a moment ago. Fine, the actual amendment is a great amendment when you read it. What you don't realize, folks, is the legislation that went into making it behind it. This is the danger of all of this. Because what I just said to Hal 15, 20 minutes ago in the interview was that throughout the 20th century, what you started to see, more corporatizing, more taking away of our rights, more amendments that went in there, and they had nothing to do with limiting the government. You know what? The first, second, fourth, Article 12, Article this, that, you're absolutely right. We should do away with more of this government. People should have more freedom. you never saw those types of amendments. Everything was more rules, more this, more clarification, more definition, more compartmentalization.
Actually, most of the amendments gave more power to the federal government.
That's what I'm saying. Right, exactly.
That's it.
That's it.
And I know one of the arguments that Article 5 supporters will say that, oh, Congress obeys the amendments. You know, they obey, when it comes to income tax, they obey it. And it's a question, it's interesting, it's not so much it's not that they're
I
disobeying
got some
amendments.
prime real estate east of Cape
That's right,
Cod I'm
yeah.
going to sell you.
It's what they're doing in excess of the Constitution. The Department of Education should not exist. It's not in the Constitution, but we have it.
There's a lot of it. You know,
The EPA.
everyone makes fun of Rick Perry because he forgot the Department of Energy. You know what, folks? I've been doing radio for 8 years. I can't remember half the departments. I talk about stuff like that all the time. And the reason why is that they shouldn't exist anyway.
That's right. So,
Unbelievable.
As a friend of mine said recently, he said, we don't have a paper problem, we have a people problem. The Constitution, and Article 5 Convention, it is in the Constitution. I would say that any of the founders who wrote this, if they looked at the caliber of the average politician today, they would say, what were we thinking when we wrote that? I mean, if they knew what we had today. There are very few, in my opinion, very few people that would represent limited government under the Constitution who would come to this convention. Now, there's some other issues too. Let's say that the Article 5 people, the Convention of States, they have 8 resolutions that have been introduced. They're spending a lot. They got 4 years, they get 8 states. That by the time, if they ever get 34 states, it's probably going to be $2 or $3 million per state is what they're going to spend, right?
So that costs
they're spending a lot of money, and they have it, I guess.
Which begs the next question, who's funding this?
So, well, you could look at ALEC, American Legislative Exchange Council, the Koch brothers behind them. And again, just be honest, where your money comes from. If this is supposed to be out in the open, they should, okay, we're a free country. People should have the right to oppose or support different issues, but the money space should be known. You know, so again, we're very modestly funded. We're always looking to get more. We're actually going to be bringing in into the New England region in January a speaker from Montana on the subject, testifying. We're going to be doing some press conferences at the state houses.
Great.
And so, you know, we have a fellow that's putting up the money, and we have a little bit here and there, and so we don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to have full-time staff and all that to do that. But I like to think that an ounce of the truth is worth a ton of misinformation.
What's important is that you are well connected and you're getting the right type of people.
That's right.
And your work from John Birch all those years. I mean, those contacts. Never mind John Birch. Those are contacts you did. I mean, it's like me with my show. Everything is my own hard work.
Sure.
That's all your hard work.
Well, in Maine, we had hearings there 2 years ago, and we were outnumbered in the hearing room, probably 4 to 1. But we had some really key people. We had a constitutional attorney, a little lady from Connecticut.
To give the actual good speech.
We thought, well, we're probably not going to win, but we gave it our all. We got into the arena thinking that, with the intention of being successful. I said, we're probably not, but we have to do what we have to do. And we've discovered that the committee was a majority Republican. They voted against the Governor LePage, whom I do like.
Right.
He was advocating a balanced budget amendment, was Article 5 convention, and that was defeated almost unanimously. The Wolfpack, and they had a lot of noisy, it looked like a Ben and Jerry's convention. I mean, all these.
Oh, it's more of that really?
Oh, yeah.
Because I've never been to one of these. It's more that lefty scream yell.
This time, they're outside with all their signs and things. They even have little signs about it.
Have a message. Be definitive in what you do. Come on.
Well, there's only got one vote.
I'd have more respect for you.
Yeah, and I think the Convention of States, they got about 5 or 6 votes out of 18 maybe, but not enough, obviously, to go.
Sure.
And I thought, in last year, in New Hampshire, they actually passed it in both the House and Senate. They passed it in the Senate and went back to the House, and it was defeated, inexpedient to legislate. They tabled it. So we had to stay at it, and we just hope we can outlast them. And these things go in cycles too. You know, every 10 years or so, it seems to be there's a big thrust, and hopefully we can beat it back. And the solution isn't to rewrite the Constitution, it's to have understanding of the Constitution, to share that information as widely as you can, and to encourage, to create a climate where sound constitutionalists can get elected and stay in office. And that's really what our goal has been, and we'd like to think in a small way we're able to help to do that.
The Meat and Potato Show, Conservative Talk in Awesome Rock on KTNTradio.com. My good friend Hal Shurtleff.
Oh, I just want to can I mention,
real quick, we're going to segue. We're going to get to the
if any
doctor
of your
in here.
listeners want to get more information about this,
You'll be back on, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah, go to our website, give me a call. My email is campconstitution1@gmail.com. We have a Facebook page, and we can put you in touch with people in your state who are fighting this, and you get more information on it as well.
Okay, we'll be back. We're going to play a couple of things from InXS Live. We're going to switch some mics and cameras around, and we'll be back with the second half of the interview here on KTNTradio.com.